When the government condemns his work, a writer creates a story wherein the devil and an invisible witch punish those who wronged him. However, his fantasy starts mixing with his reality. At an apartment complex, the doorman notices the doors swing open though no one's around. Unbeknownst to him, an invisible intruder arrives at an apartment and starts wrecking the place. The noise wakes the tenants while the panicked Latunsky arrives and unlocks his home just as the apparition flies out the window. An asylum patient writes the story until his nurse arrives. While the nurse administers his medicine, he eyes her keys, which he steals and later uses to open the balcony door. Outside, he sees another him wearing a black hat. This apparition frees the patient next door, Ivan, and introduces himself as the Master, the writer of a controversial fiction about Pontius Pilate. He begins his story by meeting an actress named Hella a year ago, who invited him to the writers' club that night. The Master later watched his play's rehearsal where Pontius Pilate accused Yeshua of destroying a temple. Yeshua testified that he only did it to make room for new faiths, which prompted Pontius to call him insane. To his surprise, the prisoner returned the accusation, hinting that he knew why Pontius suffered from migraines. Suddenly, the staff started removing the props upon the orders of the theater's finance director, Rimsky. The Master confronted Rimsky about this, only to learn that his play was cancelled. Desperate to save it, the writer rushed to the theater director's apartment, but the man's maid refused to let him in. Instead, he chanced upon the magazine editor, Mikhail, who happened to live in the same apartment since the government provided writers' union councilmen with housing. With an idea in mind, the Master invited himself to Mikhail's meeting, and the editor promised to vouch for his play. At the meeting, however, Latunsky argued that an adaptation of Jesus Christ's story was against their new government. He claimed that Pontius Pilate represented a violent abuse of power which is politically harmful. Hearing this, Ivan, who was also a poet, accused the council of limiting their work. Chairman Prokhor argued that canceling the play wasn't to suppress freedom of speech, but instead, it's to guide the author to better serve people. Just then, Mikhail gave his statement, but to the Master's dismay, he merely apologized for publishing his other works and promised to remove them. Prokhor then suggested redirecting the Master's creativity towards the Soviet Union, but he replied that no one would like him writing on those topics. The Master soon stormed off the Union building, defeated. Film writer Aloisi caught up with him outside and offered his support. He followed the Master to his home where he noticed a black cat he'd nicknamed Behemoth. Inside his home, the Master worried about getting banned from writing, so Aloisi encouraged him to fight for his work. However, he also advised him to lay low given the scrutiny on him now. Considering this, he accepted Hella's invitation and joined her at the club that night. Aloisi was also there, promising the writer that supporters would protest against the union's censorship tomorrow. Soon, however, the Master was thrown out of the club since his writers' union membership was revoked. While outside, he met Voland, a German professor who traveled to see his work. The Master revealed to him that his play had been cancelled, accusing the new government of opposing religious topics. With a smile, Voland assured him that no society had ever fully removed religion. Inspired, the Master thought of a plot about the devil restoring order in this country. Just then, a vehicle picked up Voland, and Hella joined him in the car before they drove off. The next day, only the Master and Aloisi attended the protest. Defeated, the Master wandered to a parade wondering why God made him love literature when it led him to being silenced. In despair, he mindlessly stepped in front of a float, but a woman named Margarita pulled him back to safety. She walked with him while trying to remind the Master of what he loves to distract him from dark thoughts. He said he loved the sea though he hadn't seen it, prompting her to guess he was a writer since he loved something he hadn't seen. He confirmed this and then took Margarita to his favorite spot at the park. There, he shared a story he made about Mikhail and Ivan. In the story, Mikhail ranted to Ivan about peasants inventing religion out of boredom. Voland overheard this, so he asked who controlled fate if God didn't exist. Ivan said it was the men themselves, but Voland questioned who was responsible for random deaths, like how Mikhail would meet his end by decapitation. Mikhail dismissed this as speculation, only for the professor to note that it would happen because someone already bought the oil. He also claimed that he'd be moving into the editor's apartment. Threatened, Mikhail excused himself and then headed to the phone booth to call the authorities. He found the bulky Azazello stepping out of the booth, so he rushed to it only to get distracted when Koroviv appeared behind him. Startled, the man slipped on oil that covered the train track. Just then, the tram approached. Mikhail desperately dodged the vehicle but ended up falling between the cars and losing his head. As the Master ended the story, they reached Margarita's apartment building, so he gave her his address hoping to see her again. Inspired by their conversation, he began writing his manuscript for the next few weeks. He continued Mikhail's story where Ivan found his friend's headless body. Thinking that the man orchestrated this, he shouted to the police to arrest Voland, but no one believed him. With no choice, he chased the man into the night while Koraviv, Azazello, and Behemoth joined the perpetrator. The trio hopped into a car, so Ivan gave chase, only to see Voland walking towards a building. He chased the man but was surprised to see him walking over the river. Unable to catch up, Ivan barged into the Writers' Club and announced that Voland ended Mikhail's life. However, the people regarded him as crazy as he continued panicking, thus they restrained him. This was how Ivan presumably ended up in the asylum. In the present, the man asks the master who Voland is, so he reveals that he's the devil. Continuing his story, Margarita visited his home and read an expanded version of Voland's conversation with Mikhail and Ivan. Voland told the tale of when Pontius Pilate publicly judged Yeshua and 3 other criminals, only to learn that the former only pontificated before a crowd in the temple. Pontius argued that Yeshua wasn't unlawful, but his priests believed his actions undermined their religion. With that in mind, Pontius condemned Yeshua to crucifixion. Margarita finished reading this just before the master received a call, announcing that his play was reinstated. With this, he and Margarita headed to the theater while the master shared that his next chapter would be about the theater director's disappearance. The story began when the director, Stefan, woke up and found Voland offering him a meal. While he ate, Voland introduced himself as a professor of black magic, whom he was supposed to meet at the theater. Since the director was late, he opted to visit instead. Soon, Stefan called Rimsky to discuss this, only to be distracted when Behemoth and Hela passed by. He followed them to his room where he saw Behemoth eat with a fork while Hela washed Voland's feet. Suddenly, Azazello smashed through a mirror, making Stefan stagger towards a couch where Koraviv was hiding. Voland then introduced the 4 as his entourage who would be moving in there. However, there were too many of them for such a small place, so they needed to get rid of someone. With that, the men and the cat cornered Stefan, making him tip a basin of water over himself. He jolted up, only to find himself in the same asylum where the master and Ivan were in the present. After the master shared the story, Margarita agreed that Stefan deserved to be humiliated. They then reached the theater and saw the poster of his play being removed. Confused, the master spoke with Rimsky, but the man handed him money and 2 tickets for the premiere of a new version of his play. This meant that they would use his work but would change it to fit their ideals better. Despite the heartbreak, the master prepared a fancy dinner for Margarita one evening, seeking inspiration from his beloved. As they danced, the lady pushed her lover over a stack of his books and disrobed before him. This led to their first intimate time together. Inspired, the master considered creating a character based on Margarita. She found this endearing, but she revealed that she was married to an important man who didn't love her, and that she was contemplating her end when they met. Despite this, the two continued seeing each other, with Margarita eventually making the black hat and giving her lover the pseudonym The Master. One day, she noticed the master collecting newspaper reviews of his play, appreciating their scathing opinion. However, when Margarita read one from Latunsky, she decided to visit him with a meat tenderizer. The master tried to stop her, and luckily Aloisi visited, allowing him to take her weapon before Margarita left. The film writer wanted his friend to read his new script, but the master's wooden reaction discouraged him. Guilty, the master invited him to a play, but the man declined. Instead, the master invited Voland to the play that evening. The play was led by the master of ceremonies, George. He, along with female dancers, presented a future where Russia's ideology was spread worldwide. Voland excused himself during the performance, and just as he left, Koraviv, Azazello, and Behemoth crashed the play and forced George to read a note. The man read aloud that the play will be replaced with a black magic show hosted by Voland. The stage darkened as a seat above them revealed Voland in costume. He then prompted the first trick, wherein a blindfolded Azazello shot a wrecking ball flying above the audience's heads. Once it's destroyed, the ball unleashed money, so the audience rushed to take them. George yelled that this was hypnosis, but Koraviv accused him of ruining the show and asked the audience what to do with him. One woman suggested decapitating him, so Behemoth sliced George's head. He then tossed his still-living head to Koraviv, and the man turned to Voland to judge him. Voland called George greedy for expelling people from their apartments, so the beheaded man begged for mercy and even promised his home to the needy. With this, Voland allowed him to have his body back, though Koraviv placed it backwards. Hela arrived next with golden pillars filled with jewelry and bags. Women dressed in opulent clothes joined her as Hela invited the audience to enter her boutique. When one woman entered, her clothes were replaced by expensive clothing, causing more women to line up. After most of the audience got their makeovers, Koraviv announced that the boutique was closed, but all the products on the pillars were free to take. This caused a stampede as everyone grabbed whatever they could. The master watched as the show dissolved back into George's play, revealing that the magic event was just used his imagination. As he and Voland left later, he saw Margarita enter a car, having also attended the play with her husband. The following day, Margarita visited the master and asked why he attended the play. He replied that it was for inspiration, which helped him write a new chapter. The woman declined to read it and instead shared a dream of living in a farmland with him. The two later had a picnic near an airship dock where a woman recognized Margarita. Quickly, Margarita insisted that she was someone else. Unable to handle her two lives, she later decided to tell her husband the truth so she could elope with her lover. The master protested since it might endanger her, but the woman already prepared tickets for their escape. At the present, the master tells Ivan that this was the last he saw of Margarita. After that day, the master shared his manuscript with Voland. The professor was fascinated by it and suggested having his character gather all the wicked people into one party. To inspire him, Voland invited him to an event that night. At the event, Stefan greeted and assured them that laws didn't apply there, so they should enjoy. The master then noticed Mikhail's room, but Stefan claimed that he hadn't been home for a while. Amidst the merriment, Voland pointed out how officers were using party medications that they should be confiscating. Latunsky then approached Master and assured him that what he wrote in the papers was nothing personal, which the writer dismissed. Soon, Voland found the master sulking, so he commented how the rich often undermine the lower class, yet in this party, they acted lower than those laborers. Drunk and frustrated, he then called everyone's attention and offered a toast to communism and segregated housing. Voland cheered for this while the others remained cold even as the two were leaving. Back at his home, the master thanked Voland since he found inspiration to finish his story. While he wrote, Voland played with his bust of Pontius Pilate, commenting that it didn't look like him because he personally saw him. This made the master stop. Nervously, he turned to his companion, and Voland merely laughed, claiming that he was so engrossed in his character in the story that it got to his head. Just then, someone knocked on the door. Realizing that it was the officers about to raid his place, the writer burned his manuscript with a heavy heart. The next day was when Margarita was supposed to elope with him. When he didn't arrive, she rushed to his place and found it ransacked. The master was at the police station accused of spreading propaganda due to his rambling last night. Despite having burnt his manuscript, officers got intel about the deaths he wrote but assumed that he was plotting the murders of government officials. They implied that his lover told them this, and this drove the master mad, refusing to believe that Margarita could betray him. For days, people who knew the master gave their testimonies, tarnishing his reputation. He was then accused of conspiring for a rebellion, and officers even speculated that he crashed Stefan's party. The master insisted that Voland invited him, but the guests claimed that he was there alone. Defeated, the master spent days alone in the jail until the mysterious Voland appeared out of nowhere. The devilish man assured him that he loved his novel, though he was disappointed that it was incomplete. The master lamented how he suffered too much for the story already, so he just wanted to be with Margarita instead. Voland then claimed that he spoke with Margarita, who shared that the master was her whole life. He promised to reunite them if he finished his story. The master refused since he destroyed his manuscript. However, Voland claimed that stories couldn't be burned. Suddenly, Voland disappeared and Rimsky arrived. He reminded the writer that he was accused of treason, but government officials had started admiring his work, so the Union might be able to welcome him back. The master, however, knew that he'd have to blame someone for his supposed crimes to do this, so he threatened to name Rimsky as the mastermind of the rebellion. Horrified, Rimsky called him insane. This ultimately led to the master being taken to the asylum, where he was diagnosed with hallucinating the story he wrote. Despite this, all he was worried was how his disappearance might destroy Margarita. All the comfort he could give himself was to write while enduring painful treatments for weeks. On the night he stole the nurse's keys, the master had completed his manuscript. Finally finishing his story to Ivan, the master wonders if he can send Margarita a letter so she can know that he was done. While her lover struggles to reach out to her, Margarita also longs for the master. One day, she passes by the building where the master used to live, but instead finds Aloysi living there. She demands to know what happened to the master, but Aloysi claims that he doesn't know. She then asks if he knows about the story he wrote, and Aloysi gets defensive and drives her away. Margarita pushes back and grabs a knife, demanding to know where the master is. That evening, the master gives his finished novel to the nurse, asking her to deliver it to Margarita. She asks permission to read it too, and he allows her. After she leaves, he hears Ivan still talking to his other self with a hat. The two masters then reconvene in the balcony, with the one in the hat revealing himself as Voland. Voland shares how Pontius used to suffer insomnia and headaches after approving Yeshua's execution. With this information, he offers to let the master end his story with one sentence, but the writer only uses the word free. This allows him to give a different end to his story, with Pontius freeing Yeshua and giving both of them peace. Voland admires this ending, so he walks away. As he does, the master vanishes into darkness, disappointing the devil. The next day, Margarita finally arrives at the institute, insisting to see the master. However, the doctor refuses her and orders an orderly to escort her out. Before she can leave, the nurse calls Margarita and gives her the master's book. When the woman asks to see him, the nurse looks solemn before revealing his fate. That night, Margarita mixes medicine into her wine and drinks it tearfully before beginning the novel. The new chapters involve herself as a character. In the book, she watched Mikhail's funeral procession when Azazello appeared. Margarita asked if they would also punish Latinsky, but Azazello could only say that she was invited to see an important foreigner. He then gave her a box of cream, hinting that it'd be useful. That evening, she wrote a farewell letter to her husband before applying Azazello's cream. To her surprise, the cream allowed her to levitate and become invisible. She then flew into the night, reveling in her new abilities before ransacking Latinsky's home as vengeance for him ridiculing the master. Afterward, she met with Koraviv at the apartment building where Stefan lived. He explained that they intended to crown her queen of their ball, which she accepted. They arrived at a room where Voland and his entourage awaited her. There, Margarita was dressed and crowned for the devil's ball. Standing with Voland's cohorts, the beautiful Margarita welcomed the guests who kissed her knee before entering. Amidst these, Koraviv told her who the guests were and why they were condemned to hell. Countless sinners praised their queen for hours, but Margarita wasn't interested in them until she met Frida. The woman conceived a child after an attack and killed her newborn out of anguish. This led her to hell. To taunt her, Koraviv held out a handkerchief to Frida, which was similar to the one she used to choke her son. Ashamed, Frida took it before begging Margarita for mercy. The ball soon began, and Azazello presented Mikhail's frozen head in a case to the devil. Voland taunted how the editor was hot-headed about the sciences, so they opted to cool him off. He then ordered them to remove his encasing, and the man's head disintegrated into a skull. Voland then seated at his throne with Margarita at his side as Koraviv brought Rimsky forward. The devil accused the man of forgiving atrocities for the sake of a good word while shouting treason at others who inconvenienced his agenda, like what he did with the master. With this, Rimsky was shot as punishment. Using Mikhail's skull, Voland collected Rimsky's blood and drank it with Margarita. The drink made her dazed, and Margarita was soon taken into a bed of roses which swallowed her up. Margarita awoke in Voland's bedroom and was invited to have dinner with him and his group. Noting her discontent during the ball, Voland wondered if she wanted more, but Margarita claimed to be happy to have served him. Margarita's response earned praise since this was a test. Voland asserted that the weak should never ask for anything from the powerful and must instead deserve them. With this, he offered her a reward. After some reflection, she requested Frida's freedom since the woman saw her as her only hope. Voland pressed Margarita to ask for her own desire, so ultimately, she begged for her lost lover to return. The master emerged and Margarita kissed him just as officers stormed the building. When they arrived at the apartment, they found only Rimsky's corpse and Behemoth, who toppled a gas lamp. The cat then stole a gun and started a shootout, which ended with him being shot. The officers then threw a net over him, but Behemoth dodged and led them to catch the gas lamp instead. Panicked, the officers threw the net, causing it to ignite from the fireplace. The flames reached the gas pipes, thus spreading fire throughout the city. From afar, Voland's group watched the chaos and assured the master and Margarita that their work here was done. In reality, morning comes with Margarita dead after reading her lover's novel. To her, however, this is the path to reunite with her beloved in the afterlife. Meanwhile, his magnum opus is retrieved from the furnace and given to Voland, who sees it as a novelization at how the devil strives for mischief yet works for the sake of the good.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.